Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. Hope you enjoy. Story number 1. No, but yes. Written by Echoing Cascade. The alarms had stopped blaring as a few minutes ago, and Sally was listening to her captain in the engine room. Their ship, the Silver Queen, was currently in dry docks of a repair station for maintenance. Okay. Say that again in a way that doesn't sound stupid. The diminutive woman was holding a large wrench in one hand and pointing menacingly at her captain. Captain Sue of the Morning Light, and Iron, like the rest of the crew, began explaining the situation again. We were boarded by my Soren pirates a few minutes ago. Yes, I heard the alarms. We don't have the numbers or weapons to face them. Sally nodded. So I challenged the pirates to a contest of champions. Makes sense. We have nothing to lose and everything to gain. And I told them that you would fight. Okay. Right there. Stupid. The captain was looking worried now, not that he'd looked all that relaxed to begin with. Why, not Sandriel or Bright Knight. He's the chief of security. She pointed at Iron, who blocked away, pretending that he hadn't heard that. Well, you're a human warrior, and as such should have no problem defeating a Mysoran pirate in single combat. Sally looked at the Iron like he had just told her that pi was exactly 3. A warrior? The hell have you heard that idea? I'm an engineer. She noticed the wrench in her hand, put it down and crossed her arms. It was the captain's turn to be surprised. But you train every day in the cargo hold, the ritual combat clothes. Sally's left eye began to twitch. Because my muscles would atrophy if I didn't exercise them in a high gravity, and the cargo hold is the only place with adjustable gravity. Everything else is set to standard, and it's freaking yoga outfit, not ritual combat clothes. The chief of security rallied his captain's aide, who was by now looking rather crestfallen. You have a large blade in your room. It's a conversation piece. You talk about it all the time whenever anyone visits you. Sally threw her hands in the air. It's a great conversation piece. Sally picked up the wrench again. All right, how much time we got left? A few more minutes, maybe less. Sally sighed. She had an idea. Not a great one, but it would have to do. Tell them that I'll fight their champion in the cargo hold. As everyone began to leave, she stopped one of the fellow engineers. Not you, Bursa of the High Winds. I have a job for you. Sally had donned her yoga outfit and held the scimitar in her right hand and was standing in front of a large Mysoran pirate equipped with punch daggers. He was bipedal, reptilian, red, and very, very angry. She walked a few paces back and began to limber up, and the Mysoran did the same. All right, remember what my brother told me when he gave me the blade. She closed her eyes to better relive the memory. You're an old FTL engineer assigned to space. If you ever need to use this as anything other than a wall decoration, someone frecked up. They had both laughed at the time. She opened her eyes and glared daggers at her captain, and then quickly closed them again. A sword or saber in this case is not an axe. You don't need to chop with it. The follow-through has how you inflict deep cuts with it. She opened her eyes. Gods, I hope I don't have to put that to practice. The fight began as both opponents lunged at each other. Fierce clash of steel quickly followed. Sparks flew, and every other swing of their blades drew blood. At least, that's what the onlookers had expected. In reality, the second the fight had started, Sally turned her back to the opponent and ran. Everyone was stunned, but eventually the pirate champion gave chase. By the time they had finished their second lap of the spacious cargo hold, mocking and catcalling had begun. Sally didn't care. She had a plan and was confident in her speed and stamina. Any moment now. The change took everyone by surprise. Just how gradual increase of temperature goes unnoticed until you get burned. No one felt the increase in gravity until it was crippling for all those present. All those present, except Sally, that is. She approached the Mysoran champion slowly. She wasn't at all tired, but the gravity was rough even for her. "I'm sorry. I know this isn't very honorable, but I kinda like living, and my captain is a moron." She disarmed the pirate before restoring gravity to galactic standard. It took a while, but the repair station security eventually came to pick up the pirates. "Wonderful. I knew that you could do it." Raleigh raised a blade and put the tip under the captain's chin. "Everyone out!" Most of the crew was confused and didn't know what to do. Those who had been in engineering, however, knew the score and left without a second thought. "I said leave!" Everyone was going to ask why Sally even cut them off, metaphorically. "I don't want any witnesses." An ice in her voice could have kept meat fresh for a week, so everyone still there quickly left the room. "Let's not do anything hasty here. I get a pay increase, an extra week of vacation, and a cat." "Okay, for the first two. But a cat? Hell no. Just kill me now." Sally raised the scimitar above her head. "Your funeral, any last words?" Fine, I'll get you a frickin' cat." Sally put her saber down, and the captain breathed out. He started to leave the room when Sally grabbed his wrist. "I want in writing." It took months to get the permits, but Sir Meowsalot Carlington III eventually became the newest member of the Silver Queen's crew, and Sally's scimitar had a new story attached to it, one she loves to share with anyone who asks about the blade displayed in the engine room. End of story. Story number 2. Human Rights Charter, written by Brew Fuka. Galactic Council Museum. An exhibition about the Akaya race. We didn't know that. When we first discovered humans, they were waging war with each other for possession of some Deathworld. We analyzed their tactics and found that they refrained from attacking civilian targets, and if by mistake civilian targets are hit, both sides cease hostilities to give civilians a chance to flee and get help. And after the war, they left the colonies alone, mostly just changing the faction that owns the planet. We calculated by hitting the civilian targets, we could gain some developed human colonies and make them surrender. If the worst happens, we would only lose some fleets that could be replaced by our colonies. Then we attacked Proxima 3. The human fleet was powerful, but when they saw what we did to the world below, they handed over the colony and only asked to evacuate the survivors. We responded with bioweapons and killed the rest, just to send a message. 7 billion humans in total. The next target was Sirian 7, 3 fully developed human colonies. When our ships finished the jump, we didn't find any resistance, not even a single human ship. We believed that the humans had given us the colony without a fight in order to preserve the lives of the colonists. As soon as we re-established tachyon communications with our home fleet, we received a message asking all fleets to return. We were under attack. As our jump engines were still charging, we waited with great horror as our colonies were broadcasting distress calls. Human fleets were destroying our colonies one after the other. But not just the colonies, they were destroying entire planets, leaving nothing behind. They destroyed all the colonies we had, leaving only our home planet. We received a communication from our government telling us to surrender to the nearest human fleet or colony. As we are still close to Orion 7, we surrendered there. We were tried and sentenced to death for crimes against humanity. We pled our case, asked for forgiveness, but our appeals were in vain, because, as we now know, they call it the Human Rights Charter for a reason. Diary of Fleet Admiral Vertun of the Akaya race. Note in the exhibit, the Akaya race was banned by humans from developing interstellar travel technology and kept in an industrial age being used to produce sewer pipes and fittings for the rest of the galaxy's races. As all Proxima 3 colony once did, the Human Rights Charter only applies to members of the human race, as the Akaya discovered. End of story. I would just quickly like to thank the T5 channel members and patrons. Caspar Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Barkey. It's difficult to pronounce. Lord Azrakul and Arcadian.